Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we have 3 new developments across 3 different congressional races throughout the country. We have 2 special elections that are confirmed coming up, and we may have 1 swing race decided as a Republican flip in a Democrat-leaning district, not unwinnable, but Democrat-leaning district because of a technicality in the state of Nevada. So we are going to analyze all of this, but the first story I wanted to touch on was the fact that Joe Biden, because of his own incompetency, because of all of his failures as a president, because of the way that he's handled the conflict, the way that he's handled the stimulus, the way that he's handled inflation, he now admits the inevitable, and he admits that food shortages are going to be real due to the Russian conflict in Ukraine. Biden is not even trying to be optimistic. He's not even trying to mitigate the situation, even though we know that if he tried, he would likely make it worse. But Biden has admitted that there will be food shortages imminently. So, how do we plan for this? How do we combat this? Because there's nothing we can do except prepare with Red Eagle. You got to go to preparewithredeagle.com. You will save up to $150 on a 3-month supply. You get breakfast, lunch, dinners, drinks, and snacks totaling over 2,000 calories a day because things right now are getting ugly. And you're going to be very glad that you made this investment, so don't get caught unprepared. Go to preparewithredeagle.com right now. That is preparewithredeagle.com before it is too late. So we have 3 races to cover. The first one is in Texas. You have a district in South Texas. Again, we understand South Texas trended heavily to the right in 2020, and as well as a lot of these other small races, we saw that the Republicans won the mayoral election in McAllen, Texas in mid-2021, and they hope to flip yet another seat in Texas, in the Texas's 34th district, where you have Representative Filemon Vela resigning. And this could be a litmus test for South Texas ahead of 2022. We understand Texas is likely not going to flip. It did not flip in 2020. 2022 is going to be likely a red wave environment, so it's possible that this seat overnight could be a Republican flip. And looking at this district and how it votes, it is 84% Hispanic. It's not exactly on the surface your stereotypical Republican district. However, a lot of those voters, those Hispanic voters, are Tejano voters. Again, they have lived in Texas, in South Texas, for generations upon generations. And this is the district that encompasses Brownsville. And this district went from voting for Obama by 23 points to voting for Biden by just 4. That trend is likely to continue. It has shown 0 signs of stopping, especially after the mayoral election in a lot of these Tejano areas, which are very different than Hispanics across the country. They have a different culture, they have different voting patterns, but you look at this and you see the fact that this district almost flipped at the presidential level in 2020. Obviously, Vela overran Biden by 10 to 15 points. Well, that may not happen this time. So you look at this and you see the fact that Republicans could easily fill this seat and flip this seat, especially if they have this turnout surge. I'd really just watch the margin rather than anything else. And it seems, given trends, Republicans are likely to win it. So that's really it for Texas's 34th. Now, I will say this, talking about redistricting, looking at Texas in redistricting for 2022. Obviously, the map is in litigation, but it is not likely to stay in litigation. That district has now become D+17. So the bad news is this could be just for a short period of time, although the incumbent, maybe with the wave, could be carried. I know it's D+17 now, but this district was probably D+45 before the 2020 election. So anything is possible. We'll watch it. It could flip back into Democrat hands, but as of right now, this is likely to be a Republican flip. So the second election will be in the state of Alaska. This is a special election. Republicans already hold the seat, or they held the seat until Don Young passed away about a week ago. And again, Don Young is somebody who I almost put on the primary list. I almost included him in that video, and it's sad that he passed away, but that would not have been a good look because the updated Rhino Roundup video, it went out, I believe, a few hours before he passed, and apparently it was saved by not putting him in the video. But either way, he was a long-tenured guy, he was very old, and he was a little establishmentarian. We could get somebody better in there. And you're looking at the candidates already. Nick Bajich III, he is the grandson of former Representative Bajich, which was the guy who was before Don Young. Believe it or not, there was somebody there before Don Young. And he's also the nephew of former Senator Mark Bajich, who's actually a Democrat. But Nick Bajich is actually a solid Republican on the issues. Although it just seems as if you have all these families and all these people in Alaska. You have the Murkowskis, you have the Bajiches, and some of them are better than others, and this is true. But beyond that point, it's also possible that Sarah Palin, the former governor of Alaska, obviously everybody knows she was the nominee for VP in 2008. She has publicly expressed interest. Will she run? I'm not sure. She also expressed interest in the past to run for Murkowski's seat, and she never did, so it's possible. I would be fine with it. Sarah Palin, it's basically like having Lauren Boebert or a Lauren Boebert type of representative represent the state of Alaska. So I would say that that would be a massive upgrade and a net positive. But either way, Bajich also seems solid on the issues. He's a lot better than his uncle. He's a lot better than his grandfather, which would be a positive development. But more importantly, he is better than Don Young and would be seen as an upgrade. We don't want to have a downgrade in the state of Alaska. Even though it's just one seat, it represents the whole entire state because the state's population isn't big enough to have 2 seats, but that's the way that it is. So we also have a third development as well out of Nevada, and this is the last election that we're going to talk about in this video. But you have the fact that Representative Stephen Horsford has been having an affair, and it's basically public at this point. He had a 10-year affair with this woman, Gabriella Linder, and his wife is very unhappy with his decision to seek re-election. So either 2 things are going to happen. One, the wife will divorce him and he'll run for re-election, probably going to lose re-election, or he stays with his wife but drops out, and the filing deadline has already passed to the point where Republicans would automatically take this seat by default. They would run uncontested in Nevada's 4th Congressional District, which if you look at the dummy-mandered map, it's possible that Republicans could win all 4 of these seats, but this seat would be the hardest to win back. So overnight, this seat would flip into the Republican hands, and they wouldn't have to worry about Nevada's 4th. They could spend more and more of their energy, time, and resources on Nevada's 1st and Nevada's 3rd, which are a lot easier to flip back than Nevada's 4th, and you would have a 4-0 Nevada in a map where Democrats spent all of their resources trying to gerrymander it in their favor as much as possible, and it would come back to ultimately bite them in the rear end. So you have 3 elections here. 2 of them are special elections. The third one is not necessarily confirmed, and it obviously would not be a special election because he has basically admitted that he's going to serve out the end of his term, even if he's serving his term in disgrace. But Republicans definitely have the energy factor. We understand this. If you look at the fact that in Texas, in the primary, they doubled the Democrat turnout, which they essentially tied with them in 2020. And in 2018, they only had a few 100,000 vote lead. Republicans in the state of Texas are energized. Alaska obviously is a safe red state, so I wouldn't worry about that. But with this anti-establishment energy that we're seeing in some of these primaries, especially if you have an open primary, I think you're going to get the best person for the job. And Texas is 34th. That district in South Texas, is it going to stay red after the midterms? Possibly. And if you get an incumbent in there right now, it's more likely to stay red past the midterms, especially given some of these trends. One last time, we'll pull up the trend map in South Texas. You look at the county map in South Texas, a lot of the shift we saw to the right across the country, a lot of it besides some of these Mormon voters in Utah that came home from the third party, it was South Texas, some of these counties moving 30, 40, or 50 points to the right. So we'll have to see what happens, but either way, this is good news. It's time for some flips and it's time for some upgrades, and we'll just have to see what happens. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle out.